Music should be a part of every homeschooler's education. In this video, we'll talk about why it's the perfect subject to put in your morning basket. Welcome to the Morning Basket Music channel. I'm Leanne, a homeschool mom of 2 kids and a music educator. As this channel is still pretty new and growing, it would mean so much to me if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue putting out more content to encourage homeschool moms. Hopefully, you saw my video from last week that was all about the morning basket, what it is, why people use them in their homeschool, and how it really is such an adaptable tool no matter what your homeschool style is or what are the ages of your kids. In case you missed it, I'll be sure to put a link right here so you can go back and watch it. In today's video, I really want to focus in on one of the key benefits of using a morning basket, and it's this. You get to decide what is meaningful for your family and what is most important to be included in your home education. Now, because of my background, obviously I'm here to make a case today about why I feel so passionately about music as part of a homeschool education. But I also have a favor to ask from you moms watching this video. If there is something that's been really important to your family and you've chosen to make it a special part of your morning time, I'd love for you to drop those ideas in the comments so that we can really just learn from each other and share our experiences as homeschool moms. Okay, so let's begin here. Why do I feel so passionately that music belongs in every child's homeschool education? Well, I do come from a public school background, both as I attended public school myself and then I spent about 8 years teaching in various public schools before I transitioned to homeschooling my own children. And sadly, when it's not a required subject, like it would be in public school, it's often something that unfortunately gets dropped in a lot of homeschool families. Let me share with you 3 reasons why I think music is such an important subject for all kids to learn. Number 1, music comes naturally to young children in a very similar way that art does. So just like I have yet to meet a young child who doesn't at least like to scribble with crayon on a piece of paper, I also rarely find a child who doesn't like to bang on something and pretend like it's a drum or just walk around humming to themselves, making up silly songs in their head. So I think we can observe this quite naturally with most kids. And it's really sad when we do anything to either stifle that in them or just we don't encourage it from a young age. Because the reality is, as they approach, late elementary and especially the middle school years, music can become something very personal and something that they start to feel self-conscious about, especially when it comes to performing in front of others. And if we haven't set up a good environment where they're comfortable expressing themselves through music, then that becomes really tricky later on. Number 2, music strengthens the brain and builds academic connections. All it takes is about 10 seconds worth of doing a Google search for you to come across many different articles and studies that have been done that prove how music boosts a child's education in other areas. And this is something that we see come up a lot actually in public school situations where perhaps there's about to be funding cut for the arts. And then a lot of times they will use the justification, right, of students who do well in things like music and art often have higher test scores. And that may be something that is really important to you because it does help boost your child's education when related to other academic areas. For me personally, I'm not so concerned with test scores and things like that, but I just can see how, whether you realize it or not, music is so closely related to these other subject areas like language and math and science and history. It's just all intertwined with music. In fact, I'm planning in the very near future to do an entire video about that. Number 3, music brings joy, beauty, and connection to your family. So unless you're playing something specifically that is a solo instrument, music is often a lot more fun and enjoyable as a shared experience. Whether you are singing together playing rhythm games, moving your bodies to music, or honestly, even just listening to music together as a family is such a powerful experience. I also believe that our taste in music is part of what defines our family culture. So let me circle back for a minute to what I said earlier. As our kids get older, and obviously they're developing their own personalities, their own likes and dislikes, but they also kind of move into this awkward stage where maybe performing music together might feel a little bit weird because they're growing older and more self-conscious. But you can still use listening to your child's favorite music as a way to connect with them as they get older. I know in my family, many of the songs that we listen to often become like inside jokes when we can quote the lyrics to each other, and it just really helps to promote a positive family culture. Okay, so hopefully at this point, you're feeling pretty convinced that music is an important part of every child's education. But you're thinking to yourself, okay, great, now what? How do I actually make this happen? Because either I'm not qualified to teach it myself, or maybe I don't have the resources, the money, the time to outsource it to somebody else. Let's talk about 2 ways that music could be a subject included in your morning basket, either something knowledge-based or something skills-based. Here's what it might look like if you choose to go with a knowledge-based study of music. Your kids might do things like composer studies or a listening assignment where then afterwards they have some type of narration based on what they heard or even a written critique of the song. You could have them learn about different orchestra instruments or even research and give a presentation on a certain musical figure or a musical time period. So these are the types of activities that you're typically going to find in like a general music appreciation course. And I just want you to hear me out for just a moment. I am not in any way saying that these things are not valid. These are wonderful things to include in a child's music education. However, I think that this is only one piece of the puzzle. Let's make an analogy to the subject of art, for example. Imagine if you taught your kids about some of the most famous artists, Picasso, Van Gogh. Maybe you go visit an art museum together, you study really famous paintings and techniques, but your children never actually have the experience of creating their own art. They never make a drawing, they never pick up a paintbrush in their hands or use their hands to make something out of clay. I think that we would all agree their art education is not complete because they only have knowledge about art and artists, but they've never actually experienced it or created anything for themselves. This leads me to talk about the other piece of the puzzle, which is a skills-based approach to learning music. I believe that all kids need to work on skills in the areas of singing, rhythm, movement, and instruments. If you're interested in a list of easy ideas that you can incorporate these different skills in your homeschool, I have a free download on my website, morningbasketmusic.com, and I'll put a link to that in the video description. Now, if you agree with me that the skills-based approach to music is just as important as learning the knowledge surrounding music, but you're still unsure of what to do and you want a little more encouragement, resources, and hand-holding along the way, that is exactly why this channel, Morning Basket Music, was created in the first place. I have a whole playlist on this channel called Musical Mondays where I walk you through some of those different skill topics and I actually demonstrate how to teach them to your kids. You can also follow me on social media where I give little tips and tricks for teaching music in homeschool. And finally, I did write an entire music curriculum called Morning Basket Music. Next week, if you join me on here, I'm planning to do an entire walkthrough of the curriculum so you can see what it looks like, what types of activities are included, and I hope it will help you feel even more equipped that music is a subject you can teach your kids at home. The bottom line is, moms, there are so many music resources out there available to help you with this. I hope that you will consider mine as one of those. But even more importantly, I hope that you will choose to make music an important piece of your child's whole education. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Morning Basket Music so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, happy music making.